American football in Finland.
The voice in your ears and the face on your screen. I'm Perfect Purvis, and this is American football in Finland. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Coach Q, Chris Green. What's going on, fellas?
What
What up?
up?
What up? What's going on, people?
We back to start the season. This is the first one of the season. I know we done put up a couple episodes going over teams, but now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. And before we get into it, the AFF podcast is available everywhere you listen to your podcast. You can catch us visually here on YouTube, wherever you listen or watch. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and like us. Anyone who listens or watches and don't hit the like button, don't hit the subscribe button, we know you're a hater. But that's cool. We're going to get on with the show anyways. All right, it is first down where we get a chance to start fresh and discuss whatever's on our mind. Q, in the new house, what's going on with you, man?
Man, not much, man. Not much. Spending money, and that's it, man. That's it, man. I've been watching NBA, man. There's been some good NBA games, though. I don't know if y'all been checking it out. Been some great NBA games, man. The New York Knicks is looking like, I don't know if they're going to win, but they're looking like enough to watch, you know? They're giving people hope.
All I know is it's a new era. Ain't no old heads in the playoffs no more, so I don't know who to watch.
Yeah.
If it ain't Curry, LeBron, I mean, who am I supposed to watch?
Yeah, Chris, first take, man. Some new people coming out now, man. You gotta look at First Take. They'll catch you up every day.
Gotta learn their names. Okay, shout out to First Take. What about you, Chris? What's new with you, man?
Not much. We had some nice weather, so you're probably looking. I'm a little bit burnt in my face today. lot of heat over here right now. And actually, fun fact. Yesterday and today, when we're recording this, you can actually see the Northern Lights in the UK, and they were over here and we had this crazy aurora storm, and you can see them over here. And it's been nuts. Everyone's been going crazy over here.
Yeah, that reminds me. Someone put something up about seeing the Northern Lights in the south part of Finland. Normally, you can't see it in the southern part, so it was definitely a unique experience. For me, ain't nothing really going on. When we're recording this, we're super early, so if you're listening or watching, we're recording this almost a week before the actual games, and I'm in Seattle, and I don't really want to talk about all the things that went about me getting here, but we're doing something really good for the kids. As we're recording this, we're getting ready to go play against an all-star team in Seattle, and the team is full of kids from Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Denmark. And we feel pretty good about our chances. And the kids have had a great week of practice. So just really unique to be out here. Oh, I forgot to show the hat, Nordic Lions. Pretty dope. So it's pretty cool to be out here and be a part of this and help some of these kids as they try to increase their recruiting opportunities, which is the point of the trip, is to help them get, recruitment advice and talk to some of these college coaches who'll be at the game. So that's it for me in first down. Calling all youth football players. Are you ready to shine this midsummer? Join us at the AFF Nordic Challenge, June 18th through 21st in Helsinki. Showcase your skills to USA college coaches, train with some of the top coaches in Europe, and compete in one-on-ones. Get insider tips at exclusive recruiting sessions and seize international opportunities. You can even win big with camp-sponsored prizes. Space is limited, so register now. The Maple League opens up this weekend. Obviously, if you're listening, you know we're about a week ahead. But actually, the next weekend coming up is this weekend. And the first game is Helsinki Roosters versus Wausau Royals. Then we'll have the Seinäjoki Crocodiles play the Porvoo Butchers. And on Saturday, last game of the weekend, will be the Lohja Crusaders versus the Kuopio Steelers. So let's jump into some of these matchups and get talking about them real early. First game, Helsinki Roosters versus Wausau Royals. Before we get into matchups, let's talk about any storylines or questions about the game. And, since the Roosters are Q's team, we'll let you go first. Something you got about this one?
I'm just interested in seeing, how fast the Roosters will get the offense going, and and getting out there because I know Vasa is gonna fight. I think their defense is definitely gonna keep them in the game. I think Vasa's defense is gonna keep them in the game, and this is just going off of if the Roosters' offense is what it's supposed to be. But just seeing the names that Vasa has, I think their defense is going to come out and probably be the highlight of this game. I'm questionable about their offense, but the Roosters really have to come out and make a statement. I think if they want to, as far as we think they can be, this year, they definitely have to come out this game against Vasa and show like, hey, this is what we've been working on. And this is what the rest of the teams have to deal with. I think that's what you want to show most teams when you come out that first game to say, hey, this is the type of be. It's a certain guys that you call up, you know what I'm saying, to be on the men's team. It's time to see if they ready for this type of ball, if they need to be played. First game you can kind of do what you want to do. You don't have to bring out all the stops and all the bells and whistles, but it's definitely a statement game, Roosters, I think, than it is with Vasa.
That makes sense. What about you, Chris? What do you think is kind of a storyline in this one?
I'm going to go with the Ambro headline and how is he going to get on in his first game back in Helsinki Red? Because obviously we saw last season he wasn't up to par. Lots of interceptions, lots of bad reads, down to a bit of technique, a bit of not reading the game very well. But we'll see how he does back in Helsinki if he's got that kind of homegrown love effect going on with his his regular team that he started with. So I think he's going to have a better season this year. We talked about it previously before, but it'd be interesting to see how he gets on against a strong defense like Vasa. So I think storyline is how is Ambro going to perform in this first game?
For me, I'm interested to see how the Roosters start. I'm more in line with what Q said. I think this game is more about the Roosters than I think it is the Royals. Last season we saw the Roosters start off 0-2, and we were like, oh no, what's going on here? This could be all downhill. And eventually they found their way. But again, it's one of those situations where we've said this before the season. I think all the teams this year are better than all the teams were last year, if that makes sense. Everyone got better. So how much better they got, we kind of want to see it early in the season, not late in the season. And I want to know, are the Roosters going to start fast or are they going to start slow? And according to some of the information we just received today, it might be a little bit on the slow side. So that's a big question. Another thing we want to talk about in this game is the matchups. What are some of the key matchups we think we're going to see in this one? And Chris, I'll let you go with this one first.
So key matchups for me, I think the Roosters' offensive line weren't as good as what they're going to be this year. So I'm going to say the Roosters' offensive line versus the Vasa defensive line. I feel like that's going to be a real key matchup there. Everyone always says the game's won in the trenches. We know that. But with this new running back that the Roosters have got in Greenfield, can this offensive line open up some holes? Can they protect Ambro? Or is that stout Vasa defensive line going to get in the backfield and is it going to be a long day for Ambro? So I think that's a real key matchup in this one. Can they get pressure on him? Because we know Ambro doesn't do well under pressure. So if that offensive line can do a good job of protecting him, I think Ambro's going to make some good throws and some good reads. But if they get in the backfield, then I think we're going to see happy feet Ambro and he's going to be throwing a few picks.
Okay, that makes sense. What about you, Q? What's a matchup you're excited about seeing in this one?
Kind of the same lines as what he's saying. Ambro and whole Vasa defense. Because if I'm the defensive coordinator for Vasa right now, all we've been talking about is pressure. That's all I can guarantee you. We bring in pressure. I mean, if they play zone, it'd surprise me. But if I was a coach, I think he's a young quarterback. He gets startled under pressure. It's the first game. He's back with his old team. His confidence is there. I'll be there. But at the same time, your job coming in is to kill his confidence. And there's no better way to kill it than the first game. It's no better way to start the season off having him throw 2 or 3 interceptions, turning the ball over. So I think that's going to be the biggest matchup is going to be that front seven against the Roosters front. Because if that O-line can't hold up off the pressure that we already know Voss is going to bring, then there's going to be some problems. So, yeah, I think that's probably my biggest,
Yeah, I'm gonna go opposite of this. I feel like y'all look. I just want to put this out there. If Ambrose come out there and throw like 5 touchdowns, 300 yards, then what y'all gonna say? I feel like y'all kind of got very, very low expectations for Ambrose.
It's like it's not like we counting him out. I mean, I don't think that we saying that he's not going to perform good, but it's just the matchup.
Yeah.
They have arguably probably one of the best pass rushers, and Mr. Artis. You know what I'm saying? They got he's going to be a part of that. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have to look at it and say, okay, Ambrose is the type of quarterback that's going to be ready for that. Yes, he has seen him, but it's a different aspect of different team. It's year 2 for RT. It's like he got more to prove. You know what I'm saying? So you got to expect the person that you're going to either chip with the running back, you're going to have to help with a tight end, something. You're going to have to deal with him. So if we're just saying if the Roosters offense doesn't hold the problem, so Ambrose could come out and throw 3-4 interceptions because we don't know what Voss's secondary is going to look like. So it's possible.
It looked very empty to me. But that's not my key matchup though. For me, if I'm talking about this game, a matchup that I'm really interested in seeing is the Roosters secondary versus Alpha Jallo. That's something that last year, I think the Roosters beat them twice in that like little week span that they played them. And we saw them bring a specific guy. I mean, I'll say his name. Actually, Olin, he went and guarded Jallo, and I mean, he did a good job. And Jallo didn't have a great game when he was put on him. So I'm interested to see how Alpha responds to that this season. In this first game, like, I think he has a lot to prove that he can't be stopped like he was last year in that aspect. And even though maybe they blame the quarterback last year, I don't know. The quarterback they have this year, Theo Landers, great prospect. He's going to be able to move the ball around. Him and Jallo have seen each other. They've kind of played with each other, not with each other, but against each other in Spain. They played on the same field, not technically against each other. But I'm interested to see how Alpha versus the Rooster secondary. Last year, the secondary was bad. It was just really bad. This year, they made some changes. I think they brought in the import. Did they bring in the import at the cornerback or the safety position? One of those positions. I think they brought an import. And if they've done that, that means that's who's going to be trying to stop Alpha Jallo. I'm just not sure if that's going to work out for them. But we'll see if it does. But that's the matchup for me. And I think after that, we'll move on to the next game. Okay, so moving on to the second game, we got Cineo Crocodiles versus Porvoo Butchers. Chris, I'll let you take this one. What's a question or storyline you got about this game?
How sweet are the Porvoo Butchers going to look in those new unis? So I just seen them. They just dropped today, and I shared them in our chat, and they be looking like Colorado at that. Alpha Performance have done themselves well. The guy from Instagram, I don't know if it's Xavier who's in charge of their Instagram, but he was messaging me today after I shared the story. And he was saying they got like new designers and stuff, and they seem to be on the up. And yeah, I mean, those uniforms look clean. They look clean.
I like them.
Yeah. Yeah, they looking nice right now. I'm so scared.
That's good for Porvoo, man.
Look good, play good, bro.
They need them, man. They needed them too. They needed them. Like, we've been watching some horrible jerseys for the last 7 years, probably 8 years, man. So it's like those.
That's what happened when you win championships. All of a sudden, you get a little more money, start, driving fancy cars, start doing things. They're like the Mighty Ducks, in D1 Mighty Ducks, they was out there and they got the little like green and yellows. But then next year, they even upgraded them. They got the Team USA, and they came out with a brand new Mighty Ducks, like unis. Like, once you start winning, you get better and better. Might even if they get back to back, and I don't know, if anybody listening to this is in charge of this type of stuff, but if y'all win back to back, then you got to bring out the alternatives. We got to have all gold, like a gold unit. A gold unit.
Yeah.
Like, what? Hey, one thing that would be real cool if Portable Butchers did it, and I don't know who's making these decisions. I'm just throwing out ideas, guys, because I'm for the culture. If they had them gold shades, like as they pregame, like everybody has the gold shades, like the prime shades they have. You can buy them online too. So get them things shipped down. Everybody wearing that pregame.
They got to win a few more
get off that.
Oh
yeah,
before they start looking like that, you gotta win a few first. Be coming up there like that. Like,
why? Colorado ain't won nothing.
Yeah, they ain't won shit.
They won.
Send them astray. They won 4 games.
Though.
They won the media
championship though. That's all. Hey, you need to win for them.
Yeah.
Porvo clean.
Did you have anything else, Chris, or was that really your?
No. I had to mention that because I wanted to put it on the pod, but no, I guess my storyline will be like, what kind of Porvo are we going to see from this year? We've seen they bring in most of their guys back, and they're looking for a back-to-back. Like they're really going all in. Like they've got an American offensive lineman now as well. They're going hard this year, and this is a test. It's a statement game because. This is the Crocodiles. They're no pushover. They're going to be one of the better teams this season. So this is a statement game for them, and it's a great one first up. I'm glad that we get to see the Butchers against the Crocs first up because this was last year's final. This is a statement game. Like, you got to come out the blocks fast.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come out the blocks fast in this one, then people are going to start asking questions already. And I know it'll only be one game in, but it'll be early in the season. People start asking questions. If you don't back up what you've been doing, you don't repeat what you've done in the final last year, people are going to ask questions. So that's an interesting kind of storyline for me is what kind of Porvo Butchers team are we going to see this year? Are they going to be the same dog and animal that they were last year? Because I really enjoyed watching them play towards the end of the season because they really found a way to make it click.
All of them say, I'm still talking about this jerseys. Just don't come out there in the mean-ass jerseys and then play like the Walsall Royals when they had 85,000 combinations. Like we've seen teams with really nice jerseys and didn't work on the field.
Nothing with them.
Still be you, Porvu. Still be you. That's interesting though. What about you, Q? What is something you think is interesting about this matchup?
I'm gonna go a little along the lines of the Crocs. I want to see if we're going to see the game, not a game. I want to see if we're going to see the San Diego Crocodiles who are supposed to see in the championship game.
Revenge game.
Because let's not I'm disrespect Porvo. I don't want to sound like I'm tainting what they did last year, but to when you win and then you come into that next expectations are there, and you feel like it's just supposed to happen sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that is a part of it. You rhythm and then stuff just start happening good for you every game, you're making plays. But then you got like this game, and this is like the game where it's like, all right, we could get blown out, or we could just beat them. We can blow them out, or it could be a close game. Now, I think the Crocs will cut this game as in we're trying to beat y'all. Like there's no other. This is all they talked about all season is this game right here. Because in their mind, they feel like this is the only team that's probably standing in the way of them getting a championship again. And with in the game, you know what I'm saying. You like Chris said, you know what they expect. These guys are gonna come out and they're gonna play, man. The Crocs gonna play. It'll be a real interesting game. I hate when we get to the predictions as far as who's gonna win because this is a hard one right here because I just feel like this is the rival game and it's hard to pick who's gonna win a rival game. You know what I'm saying? Like so, matchup wise, I want to see what the Crocs do against this active Porvo defense. I want to see what this Portable offense is going to do against this Crocs defense. That's rowdy. That's you know what I'm saying. So I think we're getting a quick preseason, not preseason, but pre-playoff. And I'm gonna just say this now. I know these two teams will see each other again this year, besides the regular season. So I think we're gonna get our first little showcase of what's from this game.
Damn it, man. That sucks too. I'm sorry. Just my opinion. Because for me, I don't want this to be the first week game. Because no matter what happens in this game, at the end of the season, it ain't gonna mean shit. Like, and it sucks because this is a game that you kind of want to use to be a measuring stick, you know. But in all honesty, it's a 12-game season, so like this first game for these two teams, this might be the difference between 1 or 2 seed or something, or 1 or 3, 2 or 3. I mean, I don't want to get too much into the whole predictions again, but it could be a seeding situation. But both of these teams will be much different by the end of the season. And for me, I guess the question or storyline that I would go with in this is it real? And that's for both teams. Like this first game, is this really a game for you? Like, are you going to show yourself and show us what you're really about? Or are you going to go the very Maple League finish team route and say, well, this is just a starting point? And that's what a lot of teams do is they're like, whether they win or lose, well, that's just a starting point and we go from there. And last year, these two teams played each other early in the season and the Crocodiles, put a little shellacking on the Butchers. And later on in the season, the Butchers had them scared. And we still gonna talk about, not having that referee in the back of the end zone could have changed things in the regular season. And that just shows you how far this can go. And in this first game, I want to see, who's gonna show up in week 1, day 1, and say we're on our ish for this season, or you're gonna say, yeah, well, maybe we just wait till later. And either way, it doesn't matter which option it is. But I want to know who's really about it right now. Portview got the nice jerseys. Show me something. Crocodile's got a lot to prove. Show me something. I want to know who's really about it. So let's talk about the matchups now. Q, you go because you were talking a little bit about it earlier. Tell us about that key matchup.
The key matchup, obviously, I think is the front seven matchup. Christian Powell, how often they use him in this first game will play a big part. It's a heavy load. That's going to be a heavy load for the Portable defense. We know that they can handle him touching the ball the amount of times, but it's going to be very important this first game just to see if Portable is still that strong on the defensive side. We know the Crocs are going to run the ball. Like, they're going to run the ball. They're going to test to see if you can run outside, if you can hold them. So I think that's the biggest matchup of this game is obviously, I think, the Crocs offensive line against Portable's front seven or defense, if you want to call it. That's going to be important.
Quick question, Q. You don't think the Crocodiles are going to give Christian Powell the ball only 9 times in this game?
Nah, they
don't. You don't think that's the game plan? You don't think that's the game plan?
Oh, no. You gonna see it 25
again.
This first game.
Crocs got some stuff to prove because I'm a little still upset about what went down.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's gonna be a heavy. If you smart and if the coaches respect the Portable Butchers, you look at the Portable Butchers, they have firepower. They can score at any given time. So what you want to do is keep their offense off the possible. How do you do that? You get a ball to Christian Powell and you let him run the clock. It doesn't have to be a high scoring game because it's not what you're trying to. That's not what your team is made for. Ball to Christian Powell. Convert some third downs. Keep the clock running. Keep their offense off the field because as long as they're going to be able to hit you big. So I think if the Crocs go out there with that mindset of we're going to let Christian Powell win this game for us slowly but surely, I think that's success. But if they go out trying to throw the ball just like Portable throws the ball, then we going to be in for a long one. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing right now for me.
What about you, Chris? What's a key matchup in this one for you? we need to look out for?
I've been going over this in my head. I could go one of multiple ways. I was kind of thinking about the Crocs offensive coordinator versus the Porvo defensive coordinator in that aspect. Like, are they going to give Christian Powell enough touches in this game? Like, I was going to touch on that. And then I was thinking more on the lines of the Crocodiles receivers versus the Porvo DBs. We know that the Porvo corners weren't great last year.
But they fixed that. They fixed it. They upgraded this year.
Exactly. They fixed it this year. So that could be a key matchup for them as well. So you could go any way. I think I'm going to go with the receivers versus the DBs. So the Crocodiles receivers versus the Porvo DBs. Obviously, the Crocodiles got a new quarterback this year as well. He's going to be toting the rock. He's going to be throwing it around. So be interested to see how he picks apart that defense if he can, because obviously, you know, they got Zach right back there. You don't want to be thrown on his island anytime soon. You've got to have plays which are trying to take him out of the play so they can hit something underneath or do something slightly different. But it'll be interesting to see how the defensive backs match up against the Crocodiles receivers, because the Crocodiles receivers, I mean, they got a couple, but
Sarkala's a dog. Sarkala was out there making plays.
Sarkala's a dog. You're right. But what else have they got after him?
Interesting question. I know this is
number one.
Oh,
was he
Venamaki
last year? Yeah, number one.
Venamaki. He's pretty good. But I was going to ask that. That's actually what I was going to talk about. Q was like, did they get an import receiver? Because they can, right?
Who knows?
They should still be able to.
They've got archaic social media, bro. They don't share any sign-ins or anything like that. So who knows who they got over there?
By the time this episode goes live, they'll probably have signed a random American receiver, and that'll make us outdated. They'll sign them like on two. They'll get a European or an American like 2 days before the game. And that'll be how that goes. But moving on, talking about me for a key matchup in this game, I think the matchup is the Crocodile secondary versus the Butchers receiving core. Last year, I think I was on record for saying they had the best receivers, the best receiving group in Finland. I think Q was all about the Roosters and whatever was going on over there. Bring it back. They still got the best receiving group in Finland. They're missing Krippe, but they actually put Mickey J will be playing receiver most likely this year because they have an American running back now. So he's going to be playing receiver, and that just gives them options. You're still looking at Mickey J, and Lucas Arello who can take the top off. And what are the Crocodiles going to be able to do? Crocodiles don't even have again, information is going to come in much later this year, and his first game is always hard to guess. But from what I've seen so far, the Crocodiles don't have the same cornerback who was the best cornerback in the league last year, in my opinion, Toivola. He's not on the roster this year. And they obviously don't have the import they had last year, but that didn't mean anything because he mostly just got beat. But they do bring back both of their safeties and Eric Irvin. Well, I mean, he did. It is what it is. He still was good.
Facts, not attacks. Facts, not attacks.
Think about what happened with these two teams in the Maple Bowl. Lucas Arello had 3 touchdowns on the Crocodiles' import cornerback.
Right.
And they haven't fixed that. So what am I supposed to think is going to happen on this game? Bring it back. This receiving group is really good, very talented with Miko Sepinen and Mickey J. Those are 2 very savvy football players, and Mickey J is one of the most elusive players in the league. And what do you have to combat that? You have Eric Irvin, who he's a great player and good playmaker, but look at his play against top receivers. It's not that he doesn't show up. We don't have any highlights of him getting picks or intercepting anybody that is of relevance on the other side of the ball. And that's not to say anything bad about him. I'm just saying, in this matchup, that's going to be a liability. Same thing with Atu Tuoka, who's the other safety. He's one of my favorite players, but again, his skill set doesn't match up against these guys he's going against. And we could be looking at a game where if it gets out of hand, going back to what Q said earlier, how can you keep the offense off the field if these guys can score at will? They get up by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Christian Powell might only get 9 touches because now you can't hand him the ball because you're trying to play catch up and it really will throw off the whole game because the Crocodiles need to keep the game close so that they can have a good offense. But if the Butchers offense is able to do what it should do and put up points quick and easy, get out of hand. So that's definitely a key matchup. And we didn't talk about it in the last segment because, it's first game of the week. First week of the podcast. But an interesting factor for this game. Chris, do you have an interesting factor for this game?
I guess my interesting factor is just the one it speaks for itself. Is this a rematch of the Maple Bowl from last year? We're getting it real early on in the season. We're not sure. We haven't seen the teams play yet, so we're not sure what to expect from either team, but it should be an interesting one. Whenever you get the Maple Bowl rematch first game of the season, you who knows what to expect. Could go one way or the other. It could be a blowout. Who knows? Or it could be a points fest. We shall see.
What about you, Q? What is something interesting about this game for you?
That's I kind of was going to go with that too. But I guess it's more so for me is Porvo really about to do what we think they're about to do or what we know they're capable of doing? Or is this the game where we say, okay, it was great while it lasted?
You got to think about it. Last time the Porvo team won a Maple Bowl, it was a 1-year thing. They won in 2010. That was it.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you've been a part of championship teams or whatever, you kind of see that like sometimes you could tell a championship pedigree of team. Like as long as these guys are on the field together for years, they're gonna win. You know what I'm saying? And then you got times where you see a roster win a championship, and then the next year it just don't click like it did before. So I think this game, out of all of them, being it who they playing against, I think we're gonna really see like, okay, is Porvo real? Like you said, they got Mickey J at slot, they got Miko 7 in that slot. Like it's gonna be a matchup nightmare for safeties, for coaches. So yeah, it can get out of hand real quick if you don't have a plan to stop these guys. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping the Crocs don't make the same coaching mistakes that they made in the Maple Bowl. I think they should come out a little more prepared, a little more familiar with what they can do defensively against them. Y'all can holler at me on the side, and I'll give you some game plans to stop that too. But they not for free. It ain't for free. But you know, I think Porvo. I think Porvo will. Like I said, it'll be a nightmare matchup for the Crocs, man, dealing with all those receivers and even the new imports that they bringing in the offense. It's just like you got to make up in your mind and say, hey, Christian Powell, we got to slow this game down. We have to. We don't have the secondary. We don't have the type of players. They don't have a Zach Wright on the Crocs defense enough to go on to roam all over the field to kind of throw the quarterbacks off on the other team. You know what I mean? So they're gonna have to deal with what they got to deal with, but. Yeah, I think just an interesting fact is like is Porvo going to show us that they're the team that we, see the potentially them they could be, or organization they can potentially be again. So, yeah, this is a statement game. I think for both teams though. But does it decide who's going to be the big dog at the end of the season? No, but I think it's tough for the league if Porvo wins this game. If Porvo wins this game, everybody else need to just look here, we're gonna have to. You know what I'm saying? But if the Crocs win, I think everybody else can kind of look like, hey, not let back or relax, just kind of say, okay, it's up in the air. Like that's how I would feel. It's up in the air. Even though it's one game, it's the first game, you still feel good knowing that like they're beatable. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because at a certain stint last year, you know what I'm saying? It was like, all right, Porvo is really, really good, but the Crocs still was kind of like lingering there. But I know this year, if Porvo comes in and put up 40 points in the first game. If I'm everybody else, I'm like, oh man, they might be even better than last year.
No.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So in a way, you kind of like you want to see both. You want to see them come out and like light it up, and at the same time, I also want to see the Crocs come in and show us a real game against them. You know what I'm saying? Like so I'm in the air with it, but I think it's interesting that both of these teams, I think, really, really need this win.
Yeah,
more than
it's
some of the. You
perfectly
know what I'm
timed.
saying? Like
Yeah,
they really need it. So
and
sucky first game.
considering it's that.
Sucky first
Yeah,
game. Sucky.
yeah. That's what I'd say. Like I don't like that it's so early. That this game is so early because, like you said, both these teams really need it, and it could be helpful for both of them to have it. But for me, an interesting aspect, the game is in Sinioki. I want to know if the Crocodiles have upgraded their gear yet and got them some like fitted caps because some snapbacks or something. Because y'all know I'm not wearing that bucket hat, and I could be the difference in this game. I have two
hat. I'll take a bucket hat.
I have two different. I have two different Porvu Butcher snapbacks. It is what it is. That's the vibe. So I need to see a Crocodiles to get some snapbacks, and so I can get me one. I like the Crocodiles. I like to root for them. But them bucket hats. I mean, that's cool. But snapback it is. That's an interesting thing. Is that I wonder, and you know what? To add to my apparel is, when are we going to get these like Impala We Trust shirts? Like we need to bring those things back. I feel like one year there was like, I think someone had a shirt. Someone else needs to like make a shirt, whether it's Crocodiles or someone else. Not to get too much into the thing, whether it's his wife or someone else, like somebody in the family can make one. We'll start what is it? Etsy? Put that thing on Etsy. We'll buy a couple of them things. I like to see some fanfare from Crocodiles. I'm really interested to see how they play the game outside of the game. How the fans do, how they support the team after them not winning the championship. One thing that we could say is that winning does bring more fans to games. I've seen how when the Butchers had their down years, you couldn't get anybody in the stands. Last year, them things were packed every time because they started winning games. Seen the same thing for the Roosters when they weren't winning early last year. People stopped going to watch the games because they didn't think they were any good. And in Finland, it's hard to get people out to these games. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes to support the Crocodiles day one as they play this game that could kind of shed a different light on how the rest of the season goes. But I think that's enough of that game. We'll get to that third one. I'm just now looking at the schedule, like in between us changing. I don't really care about getting to this third game, but we're here. Loyal versus Kuopio Steelers. This is an interesting question. Coach Q, I'll let you take this one first.
Interesting matchups in this game. That's where we're going first, right?
Well, interesting question or storyline, like just something.
It's really more so is for me. It's really more so Aloha O-line play, the quality of their O-line this year, because I know skill wise they're there. Skill wise, they have the players to put points on the board. Depth is another thing I want to see if they address the depth situation. Not saying that you have to have players to come in and make an immediate impact in the game, but you just need guys to come in to give the starters a break, enough for them to catch their breath without something majorly happening while they're out. So the Crusaders, I mean, I think they have to show if they're going to be a more consistent team all around, like as a team. You know what I'm saying? This is one of those games. It could be a statement game for them. They can come out and start off winning and knocking Kuopio off, the first game of the season, because I think Kuopio is going to be, I think they're going to be one of the top teams. So I think if Loha wants to compete this year, this is the type of team that you're going to have to beat in the playoffs or in the championship game. So I think more than anything, they got to come out and say, hey, this is the type of team we're going to be. The same thing I said about the Roosters, this is the type of team we're going to be this year. We're not dealing with all the changes, because it sucks sometimes when you're a player and guys are coming in and coming out and leaving and coming in. It's like chemistry is thrown off a little bit, and it don't feel like you're together. So I want to see some togetherness this year with this team, so we can see what they really can do, because it seems like all we've seen was them trying to survive and deal with things that they didn't see that were for coming or whatever. They just were trying to survive the season and still win games or try to win games. I want to see them come out there with a fair chance this year and see what they can do. You know what I'm saying? Got great coaches. They got great imports. They got great local players that can make stuff happen for them. I just want to see them be a little more consistent than what we seen last year.
What about you, Chris? What's an interesting or a storyline or question you have for this game?
My question is going to be, what is the Kuopio Nessie effect going to look like? Because new head coach this year, new offensive system. They don't have the heavy running back that they've had for the past few years. So he's signing a lot of Eagles guys. We've seen it. Quite a lot of the local Eagles guys are going over there as well. So it'll be interesting to see that Nessie effect this year and how that's going to – is it going to fit in well with what the Kuopio Steelers are? Because we know they're a good team. They're a dynasty team from previous years. So it'll be interesting to see if Nessie can get back on that trend because they've had a couple down years. So it'll be easy to see if they can get back on that train, that winning season, because they really sucked last year. Like, let's not beat around the bush. They sucked.
They weren't the worst.
They weren't the worst. No,
they weren't the worst. They almost made the playoffs.
One of the worst.
Didn't they almost make? They almost made the playoffs.
Yeah,
almost. But
I think if they would have made the playoffs,
they were fifth.
Somebody would have tried to petition. Yeah, they came in fifth. I think if they would have made the playoffs last year, somebody would have petitioned. Like, that's not fair. They shouldn't be in the playoffs.
Yeah, they shouldn't be in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to talk about this game too much, but I think Kuopio, the Nessie effect. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, my question in this game is quite simple. Will there be any defense? Because I don't see it happening from either one of these teams. This is a game that could be, 64 to 42. Probably in favor of Kuopio scoring more, but also I think that Loya is going to be able to score. I mean, all of Rojo's teams can score. Like, it is what it is. They're going to be able to put up points. But on the other side, all of Nessie's teams can score. Now, can either one of these teams actually play defense? I don't know. We're going to find out. Either this is going to be a game where it's like 35 to 28, 35 to 26, 21, something like that. Or it's going to be a game where both teams like, F it, 65 to 50. Like, we should go get points. Like, so my question, and is what I think is a very interesting thing, is there going to be like any actual defensive play to slow down the scoring of these two teams that want to score a lot of points? Let's go on to what's the next thing on here? The matchups, key matchup. I'll lead this one off. A key matchup, I think, in this game is going to be the Steelers defensive line versus the Crusaders offensive line. I mean, it's the easy one to pick. It's a basic one, but we know that if the Steelers are able to create any type of pressure, Crusaders aren't going to be able to hold up. And if they can't hold up, they're not going to be able to score those points. If they need to run the ball, they're bringing in an import running back, but it's not the same situation they had last year. And I'm just not confident that they'll be able to like keep their offense balanced, which will give the Steelers an opportunity to know what to expect and play better defense. And all they have to do is stop them 2 or 3 times, and they're done. But for me, the matchup is Kuopio Steelers defense line versus Loya Crusaders offensive line. Q, what about you? What's a matchup in this game you're looking at?
I'm going to go quarterback against quarterback. I'm just going to throw that out there.
They don't play each other.
Yeah, they don't. But let's just say neither offensive line is really doing what we think it's supposed to do. Which one of you guys are strong enough to get your team out of there? Still make stuff happen with chaos. You know what I'm saying? Like, which one of you guys can handle the pressure and the chaos? Right now, I'm going with Kuopio's quarterback because I think if I'm not seeing him play in the Maple League yet, but just from what I can see, I just think he's gonna have a better chance in this game than the Aloha quarterback will. Just
who's Lawyer's quarterback again?
Bryce Messina.
Bryce, yeah.
Boy can run.
He can
The
run.
boy
man.
can
He can
run.
run. He can run. So
And he got an arm as well. He's got a cannon.
So it's going to be that's why I say quarterback against quarterback, because I think it's both of their coming out parties for the Maple League. And one is more strictly a passer and the other one can do both. But just say first game
the guy from Kuopio. The guy from Kuopio, he came with his receiver though. Like he brought his Louis bag with him. Like I'm bringing my bags with me, and it's Louis.
I'm like, you can be comfortable when you come into a situation that you've never been in like this. Like, all right, this is your first season in Finland. You got your slot receiver there with Austin, and you like, okay, let's do what we've been doing in college.
And they came in much earlier. They came in much earlier.
Yeah, so it's like it's there right now. They have an advantage because it's the Kuopio Steelers, and some of the players are still around to carry on the expectation. So, I think it'll be quarterback against quarterback. I know it's a little different, but both of them have to make a statement and come out and say and put the league on notice. That's your job. Put the league on notice. Hey, y'all never see me play. Here you go. This is what y'all gonna have to deal with. So we'll see. We'll see whose quarterback plays the best. But I think that's going to be important in this game.
And just to add in there, like we talked to the Kuopio Steelers, like offensive coordinator and Nessie's offensive coordinator, but the quarterback and the receiver, they said they're here to break records. They said nothing about we're just out here to get quality wins and get it. They said we're out here to get a championship and break records. I remember distinctly hearing someone say, break the Maple League record about something. I don't know what else he was saying, but breaking Maple League records. So that quarterback is coming out here with a mission, and if he puts the league on notice day one, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll do it in my picks, but throw out some numbers or amount of touchdowns and yards. Chris, what about you? What's a matchup in this one that you want to see?
My key matchup is Austin Brock versus the Loya secondary. So the Loya secondary, we know if RJ's not back there, they've struggled. But we know that RJ doesn't play as well on offense if he's playing defense as well. So it depends which way route they go down. But it'll be interesting to see, like you say, they want to break records. So he's going to want to eat. He's going to want to eat Austin Brock. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on against these DBs. And I think they're probably going to cook him and the quarterback. I think they're probably going to cook. So that's my matchup. It's going to be Austin Brock versus the Crusaders defensive backs.
That reminds me about what's exciting about this first week game, though. Like, there's all this unknown. We don't know. Like, we're talking about breaking records, and we haven't started the season yet. So, it's exciting. An interesting aspect about this game. I'll take this one first too. I want to talk about the apparel. I'm wondering what these jerseys are going to look like from these two teams. I think Loya's the home team. Yeah, Loya's the home team. Kuopio's the away team. First of all, I don't like Loya's uniforms. So maybe they got new ones this year. They did change management, and the team name is now the Loya Crusaders, not the UNC Crusaders. Maybe that means they got better uniforms or a different style. I never liked that. What is that, pewter color or whatever?
Buccaneers color, right?
Yeah, basically like a Buccaneers color, but it's not as good. It's like their jerseys don't look like the Buccaneers. I say go copy these NFL teams, go get you a Buccaneers uniform and come out here. It's weird they have that baby blue color that I don't know why that's part of the logo. But it's just out there, and we're never going to see baby blue on anything. So I'm interested. That's an interesting thing is to see the jerseys. And then with the Steelers, I don't know if for them changing jerseys, I think would be a good idea because I think that whenever you change, eras or coaches, you starting new, you kind of want to brand it differently. And for them, I don't want to say they just changed coaches. I want to say they're starting kind of a new era in Kuopio. So this is the time that you get a new fit, something that is more in line with what you have. But I mean, whatever they do is probably gonna look good black, white, and red is not hard to look good.
By the looks of things on their social media, it looks like they've got a new jersey this year.
Okay.
It's very similar to the last year one, but instead of the stripes here, the stripes are here on the side, and they've got like red panels down the side as well. If that's their uniforms that they've shown on the schedule, because it's got like when they're wearing black and when they're wearing white, so it's still red and black and white and red.
Well,
but
I like that.
they look
That's
cleaner.
simple. Yeah,
They're
I
still
like that. That's
Kanoa
simple.
ones as well, so it's the same mate. They're still going with Kanoa. So
yeah, I like that.
yeah,
That's what you do.
They look alright. Yeah.
Yeah, a little subtle difference, but it's still interesting. Chris, what about you? What is something interesting about this game?
I'm interested to see how many imports Loya are going to have, because we don't know if they've announced all of their imports. As I said before on one of the previous podcasts, I know they were still looking for an EU receiver as well. I don't know if it was one or two, but I know for a fact that they were still looking for one. So I can't wait to see how many imports they actually have on the field. And the interesting aspect, and Q kind of touched on this a bit, is how much depth they're going to have. I think that's an interesting aspect, because they've always struggled for depth. You know, they've got like 10 guys on the sideline when there's 11 guys on the field. So it'll be interesting to see how much depth that they do have this year, and is it filled up with EU imports, or is it filled up with Finnish players? So I think that's an interesting aspect for this team.
Yeah. What about you, Q? One interesting thing about this game.
I'm going to say the coaching and just going from Rojo being at the rim at the top now. You know what I'm saying? And Nessie, both guys have been in Finland a long time. Well, Nessie been in way longer, but he's been around Rojo. He's been around. He know what he does. They do a lot of similar things, offensive wise. So it's going to be interesting to see how they, prepare for each other, because I think they're both offensive minded guys who are heavy pass guys, who are heavy on screens. They heavy on putting the ball in the air. So I think no matter what, that's what we're going to see from both offenses. But just to see how they prepare for each other with them being so familiar with each other, because that plays a part where you kind of know what the other coach, like to do offensively. So I think that's a pretty cool, interesting aspect, because they're both big name, well-known guys that have played in Finland for a long time, though. So just that storyline of the coaches knowing each other and knowing what each other like to do, and also seeing each other, playing wise, seeing each other go through some of the greatest moments of each other's lives. So maybe I'm going a little too far deep into that, but I think that plays a part when you competitive. You know what I'm saying? When you really competitive with each other, that plays a part, because you really I really want to win this game, because
it goes.
You know what I mean?
It goes well when you talk about guys who kind of know each other and they've been around each other for a long time in the sport in Finland, and like you said, they have a lot of crossover in their schemes and stuff, probably because they played against each other a few times. And that's really helpful. So you're right. That's a really, really interesting aspect of it. But I guess now we can get into the important part of the show and give our picks coming up. Are you a fan of the American Football in Finland podcast? Show your support in style. Rock our logo proudly on hoodies, t-shirts, beanies, and snapbacks, all designed for fans like you. Join us in celebrating American football in Finland. Grab your gear and be a part of the AFF community. Alrighty, so picking winners of the Maple League games, not easy, but we like to give it a shot anyways. And since we already talked about the games, we'll just briefly say who we have and why we think they're going to win. Our picks will be available on American Football in Finland on the Instagram channel, and you can make your comments there. No need to slide in the DMs. Do it on the comments, because that'll make the algorithm love us more when you do it on the comments. So do the comments there. Let's get into it, fellas. Coach Q, I guess just give me your picks. Yeah, just give me your picks first, and then tell me why each one.
Okay. I'm going to start off with the Helsinki Roosters against the Vasa Royals. I'm going to go with Helsinki Roosters because because anything else would just be uncivilized for me to do.
Uncivilized.
Um, I just I'm making this pick strictly off of what I know the Roosters have right now. I'm making this pick off of that because I think they'll just come into this first game in Helsinki. I think they got more of an advantage where they coming from. So I'm going Roosters. I just think they'll be a little more prepared. They have more firepower than probably Voss is going to have on offense. But it's hard. It make it hard because Alpha make it hard to pick. You know what I mean? Like, he make it hard because you just never know what type of game he gonna have coming out. But I'm gonna go with my pick. I'm going with the Roosters. I think they're gonna win the first game against Vasa. The second game, I'm gonna go with Porvoo because they're just the reigning champions, and it'll be disrespectful to go against them. I just think they're a lot to handle. I think they're still riding that energy from last season. So. I think they're just gonna come out hot. You know what I mean? And then the last game, Loa and Crusaders against. Whew, that's this one. I'm going Scorpio.
Okay. I mean, you picked them like coming third, so
yeah. The reason I'm going Scorpio is I think that like their quarterback, like I said, their quarterback receiver option Nessie. I'm picking them strictly because I think they're a little more together as far as organization. I think, I don't. If Loha has made some changes and added a lot of players, I won't know that right now. Like I said, it's our prediction before we really get the final rosters and all that stuff. But I think if I had to just choose one off of just history, I'm going Scorpio. So yeah, I'm going Scorpio in that one.
I think those good picks. I wanted to be able to like rebuttal, but I mean, you make good picks, good reason. What about you, Chris? Where are your picks and why?
I always love picking the first week because we're going in blind here. Like, we don't really know what to expect from some of these teams. So it's kind of a lottery and a bit of a roll of the dice on the first week. But so first game, Roosters Royals. I'm agreeing with Q. I'm going to go with the Roosters. I feel like they have the better roster as a whole. I know they've got a couple of injuries at the moment, but I still think they're going to be the better roster. I think they're going to be the better team this season. In my preseason predictions, I had them finishing higher than Vasa, so I feel like I'd be doing the Roosters a disservice if I didn't pick them in this one because I guess it would go against what I said during my preseason picks. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Roosters. Porvoo and Senioki, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm Porvoo again. I've picked them number one overall preseason, so I'm going to pick them to win this game. Bringing lots of guys back, almost the whole crew are back. I just feel like Brandon Gwynner was playing some of his best football towards the end of the season. You know, not having to do everything on his back like he had to do a little bit in Vasa when he was there. He doesn't really have to use his legs that much, and he was getting his receivers open. So Porvoo, for me, I think are going to win this one. And then we've got the Crusaders and the Steelers. I'm going to go with the Steelers. I feel like they're going to be more organized. And I think that's just partly because I know what kind of guy Nessie is, and I know Roder's a great coach as well, but I feel like having the quarterback and the receiver in early, I feel like they're going to have that chemistry already. So you're going to see fireworks early on, and I think having that chemistry already and not having to build that through the season because it's the first game of the season, I think that's going to be a bit of an X factor for them. So I feel like Kuopio are going to win that one. So clean sweep, I agree with you, Q. Not often.
That's rare.
Yeah, it makes good picks. I think I woke up today and chose violence. I don't want to agree with y'all today, so I'm gonna go a little different.
He's going Boston first game. He's going Boston first game. I know he is. I know he is.
They could win.
I'm going Royals, baby. I'm going Royals. The only reason, and not including like there might be some injuries and stuff for the Roosters, is as much as I'd like to say that they're going to start fast, I don't believe the Roosters are going to start fast. I believe it works for them, and we've seen it year after year that it works for them to kind of muddle their way through the season and then get better. So as long as that's their game plan, they can lose this game and still be better than Walsall later in the season. And that's okay for them for that to work out that way. Once they start, start their season, they're on a schedule. And the Royals, they're not on a schedule. They need to win now. Last year they lost twice to the Roosters. They're in revenge mode. A lot of their players have said, like they felt like they were better than the Butchers last year. They beat the Butchers twice, but have nothing to show for it because they went 6-6 because they lost to the Roosters twice. So for them, there's get back in this game. Like they need to prove something. They want to prove something. While for the Roosters, this is just step one of a 12-step program. And I think that's going to show up in this game. And I do feel like the Royals will come away with the win. I mean, could they still lose? Yeah, because we don't really know anything for the season. But pick-wise, I'm going to go with the Royals, man. Give them a shot.
I don't mind it. That's a fair pick. That's a fair pick. Good pick either way. Yeah.
And then the second game, again, I'm going with the Butchers because, I mean, we all chose them to be the best team. They will be the best team. And I don't think the Crocodiles have it anymore. I think the window has passed. I think they'll be good. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll compete in this game. I think as long as they don't have snapbacks, they don't have what it takes to get the dub. And that's what it is. You don't have snapbacks, guys. You have snapbacks. And without that, you can't get the win this week. That's how it goes. They'll be okay next time. Last game, Loyal Crusaders, Scorpio Steelers. Going with Steelers again, like you guys. And like I said, is anybody going to play defense? I think it's going to be a shootout. No matter what happens, there's going to be a lot of points. I'm interested to see, like, the over-under, if we had it, like, I would put it at, like, 98. I think between the two teams, they can score 100 points in this game, and I'm here for it. Like, I'm definitely here for it. So that's my picks for this. And, I mean, that's the picks. I think we had good picks all around, and we're going to see a hell of a game coming up.
Hey there, fans of American football in Finland. Want to show some love and support to your favorite podcast? For just €3, you can buy us a cup of coffee and help keep our podcast running strong. But why stop at one cup? Why not support each host with a cup? Visit buymeacoffee.com and show your support today. Cheers to keeping the conversation going.
All right, that's it for this episode of American Football in Finland. Any last words before we get out of here, fellas?
Finally, we're here.
Finally,
First week.
Yep.
Let's get it.
Yep.
Good luck to all the teams this weekend, and we'll see you next week right here on the AFF podcast. Make sure to subscribe, follow, and like, and share on all social channels at American Football in Finland. Until next time, never forget
F. We go.
We out.